Hi everyone, it's Katrina.
Number 10. The Black Knight Satellite. There is allegedly a spacecraft in near polar orbit around Earth, a ship of extraterrestrial origins that NASA is covering up. It's known as the Black Knight Satellite, and nobody knows what it is exactly. Some have claimed it's nothing but space debris, while others say it's been orbiting our planet for over 12,000 years. During the STS-88 mission in 1998, a photograph was taken that appears to show a large black metallic object hovering in the void of space. According to James Oberg, a space journalist, it was nothing but a thermal blanket lost during the mission, but others say it's proof of the Black Knight satellite. Evidence of this mysterious satellite was supposedly first picked up in 1899 during radio experiments done by Nikola Tesla. Astonishingly, these same signals were picked up by Jørgen Hals in Norway back in 1928. Then, in 1954, researcher Donald Keyhoe told local newspapers that the US Air Force had 2 satellites in orbit around the planet, even though no country had such technology at the time. As you can surely imagine, scientists have denied any alien satellites in our orbit. However, that hasn't stopped the theory from circulating for over 120 years. Number 9. Mysterious Tracks. Dr. Alexander Koltepin, a geologist from the Natural Science Scientific Research Center in Moscow, recently made an extraordinary assertion. Following an investigation in the Phrygian Valley of Turkey, Dr. Koltepin discovered tracks that he claimed were left behind by an intelligent race of creatures. These ancient individuals supposedly lived on our planet roughly 12 to 14 million years ago. According to the doctor, the mysterious site is marked with ruts cutting through deposits made from compacted volcanic ash. The tracks cut all across the landscape of the Phrygian Valley, and they appear to have been there for millions of years. They resemble leftover tire marks of heavy vehicles, like what you might find after tanks have been driving through the mud. And while there were ancient civilizations living in the area, such as the Hittite Empire 3,500 years ago, these tracks were not made by carts or chariots. They appear to be left behind by modern vehicles, but were carved into the ground long before modern humans evolved. There is no logical explanation for what the doctor is proposing. He believes that 12 million years ago, there was another advanced society living on the planet. Maybe they were reptilian, or they could have been humans. Nobody knows for sure. However, if the doctor's claims are correct, they had access to heavy all-terrain vehicles. The tracks left by these machines were preserved just like dinosaur footprints, and scientists have yet to come up with any other realistic explanation for what might have created them. Number 8. The 10 Plagues of Egypt. Every year, Jewish people around the world celebrate Passover in April. The holiday is meant to commemorate when the Jewish people left Egypt, crossed the Red Sea with Moses, and took their place in the Holy Land. It also observes the 10 plagues that God unleashed on the ancient Egyptians. According to the biblical tale, the Pharaoh refused to allow Moses to free the enslaved Israelites, and so God sent down a series of plagues to devastate Egypt and put pressure on the Pharaoh. God turned the water to blood, released a plague of frogs, lice, and flies, and made the livestock sick. He gave the Egyptian people boils, unleashed a swarm of locusts, blocked out the sun, and killed all the firstborn children in the city. What scientists have failed to explain is just how accurate the plagues of Egypt really were. One theory argues that a volcanic eruption on the Greek island of Santorini is to blame. Microbiologist Ciro Trevisanato claims the eruption happened in 1600 BC, and that the wind carried volcanic ash from Greece all the way to Egypt. Supposedly, mixed in with the volcanic ash was toxic acid. There was also the mineral cinnabar, which could have turned the rivers red, resembling the color of blood. The acidity would have caused frogs to jump out of the water looking for somewhere clean. Acid rain likely fell from the sky and caused people to have boils. The grass would have been contaminated, thereby killing all the animals who ate it. Locusts would have thrived in this environment, looking like a plague from God, and the eruption would have caused many days of darkness because of all the ash in the atmosphere. While scientists can't explain everything in the Bible, there does seem to be a perfectly reasonable explanation for the 10 biblical plagues. As for the deaths of the firstborn children, Trevisanotto suggests they may have been sacrificed by their own parents out of desperation to stop the catastrophes. What do you think of this theory? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Talakadu. There is a mysterious place in Karnataka, India that scientists just can't wrap their heads around. It's called Talakadu, and it's a miniature desert in a location that doesn't make sense. At the one edge of the desert is a lush and dense forest, and on the other side is a river. In between the jungle and the river is a long stretch of barren wasteland, like someone transported a chunk of the Sahara Desert here. According to legend, the desert sands were brought to Talakadu because of a curse. In the 16th century, a woman named Ala Milama was scorned by the Mysore Kings who once ruled the region. Allegedly, she cursed their lands to be covered in sand. Scientists are always doubtful when it comes to curses, but there is no mistaking the strangeness of the situation here. In Talakadu, there are multiple buildings and ruins from antiquity. There appear to be at least 5 Shiva temples on the surface and several temples supposedly lost under the sand. Curse or no curse, something happened here roughly 400 years ago that buried the structures in the sand, and sadly, nobody knows what caused it. Number 6. Doorway on Mars. In 2022, NASA's Curiosity rover discovered something unbelievable on the surface of Mars. Something so crazy, there's no way to explain it, but we're gonna try. The rover took a snapshot of what appears to be a doorway on Mars, a rectangular portal leading into the side of a rocky dune, like the entrance of some prehistoric Egyptian tomb. If confirmed, this would have been an extremely impressive discovery, especially since no other proof of intelligent life has ever been documented on the red planet. Sadly for the world, NASA immediately denied the existence of a doorway. They released a tweet saying that it looks like a doorway, but it's only a geological feature. NASA tried to convince everyone that it was their own minds making sense of the unknown. The rock formation Mount Sharp is where the picture was taken, a place littered with open fractures leading down into the darkness of the red planet. The doorway, although it looks large in the image, is only about 12 inches high. It would only be big enough for a person, or an alien, less than a foot tall to enter. Nobody knows if NASA is lying about the dimensions of the doorway or if they're telling the truth. Either way, some people argue it's obvious in the image that it's been crafted by tools into a perfectly rectangular door frame. It's way too impeccable, straight-edged, and well-aligned to be a natural formation. At least, it sure looks that way. Number 5. Wormholes. Wormholes are a phenomena that scientists can't explain, mostly because they are entirely theoretical. We see them used all the time in science fiction, but according to Stephen Zhu from the University of Oregon, we've never found one in real life, and are most likely never going to find one, at least not anytime soon. In theory, a wormhole is an interstellar highway that burrows through both space and time. They are tunnels through the fourth dimension that connect 2 points that are very far away from each other. Most theoretical physicists agree that if we were to use a wormhole, its entrance would be inside of a black hole. Either that, or we would need to produce an immense amount of energy to bring up the passage through space-time, something that's currently impossible. This leads us to another unanswered question. If scientists say wormholes are currently impossible, how can we explain the stargates and portals found all over the globe? Potential stargates have been identified at the site of Hayumarca in Peru, at Abu Ghurab in Egypt, and even at the 9,000-year-old stone circle in Lake Michigan. If there really were portals being used, they would have only existed because of wormholes. To this day, scientists can't explain the stargates or the theoretical wormholes that are allegedly lurking out in the universe. However, if there really were functional portals on the planet thousands of years ago, they must have been used by a race of highly advanced beings who figured out how to use the mysterious interstellar highways. Number 4. Veerabhadra Temple. The Veerabhadra Temple is a place of great mystery and intrigue, with one fascinating feature that scientists can't figure out. In order to understand this, we need to start from the beginning. Lepakshi is a small village in Andhra Pradesh, India, and it was once part of the Vijayanagara Empire. The temple was created by a pair of ambitious brothers, likely between 1530 and 1545, during the reign of King Achyuta Deva Raya. The building was an absolute masterpiece, complete with idols of Shiva, Vishnu, Nandi, and other Hindu deities. These sculptures are truly something else, and just about every surface is painted in brilliant colors and epic scenes from ancient mythologies. There is even a huge fresco of the 14 avatars of Shiva, with the deity himself wearing a garland of skulls. However, the true mystery of the temple is located in the dance hall. This place is supported by 69 pillars. It should be 70, but one of them isn't touching the ground. There is a gap between the floor of the temple and the base of the pillar that's so obvious that you can pass objects underneath it. The pillar has supposedly been hanging suspended from the ceiling of the hall for 500 years. Scientists don't understand how gravity isn't bringing the solid granite pillar down, and they just can't make sense of it. Number 3. The Patom Crater. There is a mystery hiding deep in the forests of Siberia, located in the remote area north of Irkutsk, far from curious eyes and tourist cameras. It's a towering structure of rock that looms over the otherwise bright green landscape of trees. It almost looks like a volcano, but with a strange ball-shaped formation inside of the crater. Until 1949, only a handful of locals knew about this structure. For centuries, it was considered a bad place, somewhere of great evil that even animals avoided. It wasn't until Russian geologist Vadim Kolpakov started investigating the formation that the rest of the world found out about it. According to the geologist, it reminded him of a giant pit mine at first. Then, when he examined the crater closely, he found it to be made of shattered limestone blocks. It made no sense, and clearly wasn't a mine. It was like something or someone had shattered a limestone formation to create a pit of broken shards. The phenomenon was named the Patom Crater, and we still don't know what it is. Some claim an alien ship crashed here and broke the limestone into thousands of fragments. Others say the site is an impact crater formed from a meteorite. However, the only thing scientists were ever able to learn is that the crater most likely formed roughly 500 years ago, perhaps from a steam explosion caused by underground magma emplacement. Number 2. The head of St. John the Baptist. In all 4 canonical Gospels of the New Testament, we hear about John the Baptist. He was killed at the behest of King Herod of Judea prior to the crucifixion of Jesus in the 1st century AD. The Gospels claim that St. John was decapitated and his head was served on a platter. This story is not only found in the Bible, it is also in historical chronicles of the history of the Jewish people. The historian Flavius Josephus described the events of John's death almost exactly as they are depicted in Holy Scripture. Most modern-day historians agree he was almost certainly a real person, and he most likely had his head removed from his body. What scientists can't figure out is where his head went after his death. The head of John the Baptist is one of the most coveted artifacts in the world, something that can't even be confirmed as real. In the Bible, there is no mention of where John the Baptist went after he was killed. It only explains that the disciples came and took away his body. In the 4th century, rumors spread that John was buried in Palestine, but nobody has ever found his burial place or his skull. This is despite at least 4 locations claiming they currently have his head, including the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus and the Church of San Silvestro in Capite, Rome. Where do you think his head could be? Let me know in the comments below. Number 1. The Woman and the iPhone. There is a painting from the 18th century that apparently depicts a woman engrossed in something happening on her smartphone. The painting is called The Expected One, and it was created in the year 1860. The artwork shows a woman moving down a rough dirt path through the trees. There is what appears to be a gentleman caller sitting on the rocks with a flower in hand, waiting for the girl to reach him. However, the woman doesn't see him. as her eyes are clearly fixed on the object in her hands. It looks like she's texting and completely oblivious to the world around her, fully captivated by her phone. However, there were no mobile or cellular devices in the 1800s. Ferdinand George Waldmüller, the artist behind the painting, had never seen a phone in his life. Unless he had been given a vision of the future, there is no way he would have painted a smartphone. And although conspiracy theorists are convinced the painting is proof of time travel, experts say otherwise. Most likely, the painting shows a girl walking down a trail holding a prayer book. Thanks for watching! Which of these strange mysteries do you find the most fascinating? Let us all know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!